Werewolves of London.
Arf, arf,
Ow!
arf. In all ways except physical, I am a wolf.
Ew. Don't start off this episode cringe. I hate that.
Have you seen that?
Yes, I have, and that was disgusting. Don't ever repeat that again. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Terrorvision. I'm Justin.
And I'm Alex.
Again, we apologize for our upload schedule. We're just trying to do these episodes once a month, so just bear with us. We're busy people. But anyways, as if you couldn't tell in the intro, the movie we're reviewing, or the subject of the movie, is going to be revolved around wolves, specifically werewolves. And we wanted to spice things up again, do something newer. So the movie we're going to be reviewing today's episode will be Wolfman 2025.
Yep.
Alex, I know you have some strong feelings about this movie. I know you
I
told
do.
me yesterday that you loved it very much, and
Oh, I
that you
did. I
couldn't
did. I
wait
thought it was
to
great.
record this episode.
No, I think my feelings can be boiled down to I wish this was the 2010 Wolfman movie in every single way.
Yeah.
But, you know.
The 2010 Wolfman movie.
That one was good. That was. Watching this, I think that was the biggest impact that this Wolfman 2025 had on me, was that it made me have a desire to go back and watch that movie. Because
Right.
I was like, this is awful. This is terrible.
I need to see Anthony Hopkins as a werewolf again.
Yeah.
Before we dive into this episode, or this movie, Wolfman 2025, it's a horror fantasy film. It's an hour and 43 minutes. Director is Leigh Whannell. I think that's how you pronounce his or her name. Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie a 49%. IMDb gave it a 5.6 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 2.4 out of 5. So this movie was definitely not a high rating movie whatsoever.
I was going to say, those other reviews felt generous, and then your Letterboxd, and I was like, yep, there it is. That's
there it is. That's
Yep.
it.
That's accurate.
Peacock gave it a 50%, even though it's streaming.
Nope. A 50% and what? Like, they made a movie? If that's the criteria, then yeah, like, sure, 50%. Is this just like a if you turn in the assignment, like, and do nothing, like, just put your name on a piece of paper, I'll give you 50% type deal? Then yeah, like, sure, 50%.
This movie was very, like, how do you put it?
Bad.
If somebody copied somebody's homework, like copy pasted, and then just wrote their name on it.
Dude, Justin, I'm 99% sure this movie was written by fucking AI. I'm not even like, and I know that people say that, and I'm not even trying to be like hyperbolic or like exaggerating. Like, if any movie that I have ever seen, like, I would point to and be like, this was probably written by AI, it was this movie. I'm not even like, I mean that genuinely.
Fucking AI and technology. Damn you, Elon. Damn you for a shitty film. Since you're so stoked, let's dive into this movie, shall we?
I mean, we really don't even have to get into it. Like, we don't have to spend too much time explaining it, because nothing fucking happens. Nothing fucking happens.
That's why I kind of had, like, off feelings about it, because I was like, the movie, like, from beginning to the middle of the act, when he started, having, like, the hallucinations and somewhat kind of feeling sick and ill, and, like, the transformation, everything build-up wise was good. I'm gonna admit it. Like, it was good. It was getting me hyped. It was getting me hyped, but then as soon as when that started happening, and just throughout the rest of the film, it fell. It collapsed a lot. My expectations for this movie really fell down through the drain.
I think the very opening sequence with the main character as a kid and his ex-military dad, I thought that was decent. I thought that was pretty decent. So just a very, very quick rundown of the movie. Let me pull up IMDb so I get people's names. Actually, no, I'm not even going to do that. This movie doesn't fucking deserve me to remember the characters' names, because a fucking computer spit it out. there's this main character, and it opens with him as like a kid and his like military dad, and they live out in the middle of fucking nowhere, and his dad is very like up at 6 a.m, like make your bed, like we're going hunting. You know what I mean?
I think the setting was Oregon, if I'm not wrong.
Something like that. And pretty much immediately, the kid gets stalked by this Wolfman, and we get a little, because here's my biggest thing with this movie is that it is so uncreative that it just has to look the camera dead in the fucking eye and tell you things. Like straight, like the movie opens and it can't even be fucking bothered to explain any of this through subtext or dialogue or anything interesting. It just opens and it's like, oh yeah, in 1995 a hiker went missing and he caught a disease that natives used to call the face of the wolf.
Yeah.
You like that's like I get doing an opening crawl, right? Like Star Wars is an iconic opening crawl, but that's because that is an immense amount of information that you have to get out in a pretty short amount of time to establish the story, right? Like trying to establish the Empire and the Princess Leia and the rebels and her having this information that's a lot. And that movie is already long enough that, yeah, I feel like an opening crawl is justified there. But you're telling me in this entire fucking movie, not one time could we have explained any of that creatively? Like, we have to just open up and blatantly tell me? And that wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't every single fucking thing in this movie. Like, I don't mind opening with a little establishing thing, but it's not just everything in this movie. Like they treat me like I'm not supposed to be paying attention to this movie. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. We flash forward, and the kid is now like 30. He's got a wife and a daughter, and he gets a letter basically saying that his dad is passed and he needs to come collect his shit. We get the most blatantly phoned in, we're having marital issues scene.
Yeah.
Between him and the wife, and then we're kind of off. He forgets where his dad lives somehow, which I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. They pick up a creepy guy who serves literally no purpose other than to be creepy and get killed in about 5 minutes time, which he does. The Wolfman's strat here was to stand in front of a 26-foot fucking moving truck and pray to God that they see him and swerve out of the way in time, which is exactly what happens, but like killer fucking strat from what's supposed to be an apex predator. They swerve off, the truck crashes, the Wolfman kills the dude, and he scratches the main character. And then literally all that happens is the wife and the daughter get trapped in his dad's house, and the Wolfman's like outside and they're trying to survive, and then he starts turning into a wolf. I don't know, man. The wolf shows up and they fight, and then he kills the wolf, and it turns out it was his dad, which I called. I'll bring Reyna in here to fucking prove it. I called that shit 15 minutes in, where I was like, as soon as he got the letter from his dad being deceased, I was like, oh, his dad is a wolf now.
See, that's the one bit that I supposedly forgot in the first rewatch. Or not rewatch, the first watch through.
I cannot believe you watched this movie more than once. I'm sorry.
Well, I only watched it twice. But yeah, the first watch through, I must have left my room to grab a water or something while
I don't blame you.
You know, that scene was being explained. Like the mom was just explaining, like, oh yeah, you know, his dad went missing, and then we all thought he was dead, but you know, he ended up getting sick, and he passed that sickness to dad, and I'm just like, oh shit, that is the dad. Yeah. Like my second rewatch, I was like, oh fuck. But,
and there was also, after he killed the wolf, there was that like, close up on of the tattoo on his arm, that his like military tattoo that they showed at the beginning.
Oh, was there really?
Yeah. When what's his name, the main character, when he's like sitting on the wolf on his body because he just killed him, he sees his arm and he has the tattoo of their last name on him, his like military call sign.
Oh my god!
And then he has this like dramatic, I killed my dad, but you know it doesn't hit because this movie's awful.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that either. I think either one of two things: it's my ADHD, or I just didn't really care as much.
Dude, it could have been like, you know, fucking. But that's the thing, man. Is like that for the audience. That's the whole fucking movie, and then the wife shoots him at the end, and the wife and the daughter like escape, and that's kind of it. That's the whole movie. That's
That's it.
The worst thing. The reason I think this movie was written by AI is because the characters and the dialogue and the way that they talk and behave in situations, not only does it make no sense, which is kind of a not really a staple for horror, but kind of a trope, but it's like that's not how people talk, man. Like we're introduced to the wife while the main character, he's at home, he's like making dinner, and she comes home and she's on the phone with like a work client, and she hands him the letter that says that his dad is dead, but she didn't open it. It's just a letter with his name on it. So she just kind of like absently hands him the letter, and he reads it, and he kind of has this moment where he's like, oh, that, like, my dad is dead. Like, that sucks. It's sinking in, right? And she's literally just sitting at the kitchen table just finishing this conversation with a work client. I don't know. She's a lawyer or a real estate agent, or it's not important, but she makes money, right? Fucking whatever.
I remember that.
And he's like, out of nowhere, he's like, can you do that in another room? And she's like, and she finishes her conversation and she's like, can you not do that, please? And like, and then he's just like, my dad died. And like, I don't know, man. Just the dialogue, like it was awful. It's like, that's not how people talk, man.
So many like shift, like mood changes like happening in one scene.
Right. And then we get that, right? We get that little sequence. And then the next scene, he shows up outside her work like the next day to like talk to her. And immediately we're just supposed to like, he just asks her straight up. He's like, are you happy? And she's like, yeah, are you? And he's like, I don't want to do like fighting anymore. And just like, I'm just like, what is this dialogue?
Well, you can even tell too, like when even she said like, yeah, like she even like hesitated, like clearly you could see the fucking lie on her face, but he was just like,
get that, but it felt like that first scene, like their little argument about like, can you not do that in here? Like, it felt like that. How do I explain this? It felt like the only reason that was there was so that later they could be like, oh, they're having marital issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't fleshed out. It wasn't done naturally. It was, here's the scene where she comes home and they're going to bicker for a second so that the audience knows they're fighting. And then immediately after, we're going to directly talk about them fighting. We're not going to let there be any time for us to think about things or mull things over or be like, what kind of dynamic do they have, right? We're not going to get any time to explore their relationship or see a little bit more of it. It's, here's them having a very short, like 30-second little bickering, immediately cut to them directly talking to each other about our marital issues.
Yeah.
And then, like...
I was also going to...
Sorry, go ahead. I'm taking this up.
I said I was also going to point out when you were saying like there's like in this movie there's like dialogue issues and just character emotion. One scene that I found or that I thought was kind of really out of pocket that kind of made me laugh was him getting overly angry at his daughter in the beginning of the movie. And, like, yelling at her. I was just like, dude, it's not that deep. Like, relax. Like, she's just a kid.
and again, I think that that's a good idea, right? In theory, to have him snap at his daughter, because the only theme of this movie is, and I'm gonna spell it because this movie practically spells it out for you too. Like the wife might as well have just looked dead into the fucking camera and said that it's about parental trauma. It's about parental trauma from the dad passed down to his son, and it's very, 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 very thinly veiled as the Wolfman disease. The dad gets infected, he infects his son sacrifices himself so that he doesn't infect his daughter with it. And like, I think that works, right? Like, I do think that works. The issue is that they beat you over the fucking head with it. Like, immediately, like that scene, right? That works. But that is the first fucking scene that we see of them. Not even 3 seconds into meeting his daughter, and he's snapped at her, and he's like, can you get down? And then immediately, I'm sorry, I don't want to be like that. That's not me. Like, what the fuck? Like, am I an insane person? Like, Raina was doing D&D prep, right? Because she's DMing her own game, so she was kind of off on at the table, kind of doing her own thing. And I think she got the better experience watching this movie, or not watching, just kind of like listening to it in the background, because this was written by AI for that purpose, dude. This is a background movie. Like, I felt like I was a fucking jackass sitting on my couch trying to watch this movie, like trying to think about things, because they just say things to you, man. Like, she, like, when he starts turning, right? And he starts losing the ability to talk, which I thought was pretty cool. Like, I thought that was a little sad. He starts losing the ability to talk, and he's like, and she just looks him dead in the eyes. I don't understand you. What do you want from me? How do I help? Like, and I don't know, man.
For the viewers who are watching or listening right now, I think I finally broke Alex.
I'm crashing out.
I think this movie was a lot worse than our Halloween special review. I think I finally broke you.
And also, like, I talked to Raina about it. If she was very visibly turning into a fucking wolf person, and we're actively getting chased and almost murdered by another wolf person, right? There is no fucking way I am putting my daughter and my turning wolf partner in the same fucking car together alone while I go to the front of the hood and try to jumpstart it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I love Raina. I do. I love her with all of my heart, and I would do anything for her. But she's not a wolf person. She's not a murderous wolf person, and we don't have a daughter, right? Like, in that situation, like, yeah, I would put myself in danger to try to, like, help her and get her out of there. But if I have a daughter, right? Like, nope, I'm handcuffing you to the fucking house. I'm getting me and my daughter out of there, and I'm coming back later with help. Like, but I am not putting an actively turning fucking werewolf and my 6-year-old daughter in a car alone together. Fuck you. I hated this movie.
Oh man. Well, okay. Yes, I mean, I agree. Not fully 100% angry as you are.
No. Especially because that was after that whole thing where he was like, he like freaked out because she touched him, and he went into the corner and literally started gnawing his own fucking arm off. That was after that. Like, if you just can't talk yet and you're still you, like, yeah, like, this is, like, borderline dementia. I'm gonna try to help. But you're going feral. Like, I have seen you actively going feral. There is no... Like, this is about the safety of my daughter at this point. This is...
Oh, my gosh.
God damn.
Yeah,
it felt like in The Walking Dead, that little girl that was obsessed, that was convinced that the zombies were humans too.
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, don't kill them! She was just playing." Like, that's how I felt watching this whole movie.
You should have saw the red flags a long time ago.
Yeah, man.
No, speaking of that arm gnawing off scene, that's what I was going to bring up about this movie, that there was like a few things that were like disturbing and kind of, like kind of moments. That I will say that was pretty like cool. Like the arm, like he's chewing off his fucking arm. Like, I was kind of unsettled by it. I was like, oh, that's kind of. I'm like, why are you doing that?
No, I don't want to be super negative on this movie, because there were at least 3 things I liked about it. And one of them was that I do think that some of the werewolf changing sequences were really good. Like, the teeth falling out kind of freaked me out a little bit. You're right. The gnawing on his arm and chewing off his own leg, that was kind of freaky. The thing that really got me, that I was like, oh, that's actually really fucking sad, like, good job to the writers for the first time in this movie, was when they did that shot where his wife is talking to him, and she's like, I don't know what to do, like, and then it kind of pans over to him and his perspective, and like, she's speaking gibberish, and he just does not understand her, and he's like, no, I don't know what you're saying to me, like, what's going on, like, I don't know what's happening, and then it goes back to her, and he's speaking gibberish, and like, that was really, really fucking sad. That was really fucking sad. And I was watching that, and I was like, that was really, like, that made me feel. I was like, oh my god, I feel something in this movie. Finally. Fucking hallelujah.
One scene that kind of creeped me out, like the only sequence that kind of, I would say that was more the ends of scary or like horror like in this film was after the fact, like he's like the husband, fully transformed. Like he's outside, fully transformed, breaking his jaw and his nails are coming out, yada yada. And the daughter and the mom are inside, and it's just quiet for like 5 minutes, and them just kind of, sneaking around. And it shows the daughter just standing there while the mom is kind of like looking upstairs because she's hearing noises. And then it slowly pans back to the daughter again, and the father, full on wolf form, is just crouched right behind her.
Yeah.
That shit kind of startled me for a second. I was like, "Ooh!" I was like, "That was really good." I was like, "I liked that." I was like, "That was definitely one creepy scene that I was just like, okay, A+."
So, well, but here's the thing, dude. Is like, I don't want to be that guy. Like it was creepy. That shot was objectively creepy, right? Like that screenshot in a vacuum is creepy. But I called that shit. Like the second she started pointing her flashlight around and like whatnot, I was like, oh, he's gonna be behind the daughter, and then he was, and like that was constant throughout this movie where I was like, oh, it's going to be the dad. Oh, this guy's going to get killed. Oh, fucking this guy's turning into a werewolf.
It's one of those movies where it's like, I don't know like the correct term, but like it's very expected.
Very, very stereotypical, very tropey, like, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you gotta do something, you gotta make like, have fun with it. You gotta do some, like, maybe you don't have the budget to do like high budget effects. Maybe it is a little cheesy. Lean into that. That's fun. You know what I mean? Like, I love a good B movie. Like, we watched House of a Thousand Corpses. That was great. That movie was not trying to be genuinely scary like this movie was, right?
Right.
And that's because I think if they tried to, that movie would have failed because there wasn't really anything genuinely scary in it.
I think that's one of the reasons why one of my favorite horrors is, Scream 1996, because it wasn't trying to be a scary... I wouldn't say it wasn't really trying to be a scary film, and a lot of the actors, like Matthew Lillard, Nev Campbell, all of them, they didn't really go into this movie thinking it was going to get big.
Right, no, and that's a great example, because Scream is in a similar boat to this movie, right? Like, the Wolfman... You're doing a werewolf movie, right? Like, and especially Wolfman in particular. Like, there's not a whole lot that you can really do with that. And Scream was kind of in a similar boat, right? Like, we're doing a slasher movie. The guy's gonna kill people. Like, there's not really a whole lot you can do with that, except that there is, right?
Yeah,
there is a ton. Like, and Scream did it fantastically. Scream. They did the phone call scene. That was really cool. They did a bunch of multiple, like, cop-outs and fake-outs with, like, oh, is it this guy? Is it this guy? No, that guy just got killed, right? And at the end, it's two of them. Like, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in that movie that they added. It's not just a slasher movie. And I feel like they forgot to do that in this movie. They were like, okay, let's make a Wolfman movie. And then they just forgot to put fucking anything creative or interesting in their Wolfman movie. They were just like, yeah, no, he's gonna have a wife and a daughter because we gotta have
family dynamics.
Well, not even family dynamics, like, because they're like, this guy, our main character is the Wolfman, of course, right? Where we have an antagonist who is another Wolfman, and that's the case in a lot of these wolf movies. But we gotta have a couple humans, right, running around screaming. And so, yeah, they were like, let's throw a wife and kid in, and then that was it. They didn't add any other characters. They added that one guy, and he served, again, zero purpose. He was creepy just to be a creepy side character that they pick up on the side of the road. Like, he dies immediately. He doesn't even provide any helpful information. They crash and they find their dad's place anyways. Like,
yeah.
And that's just constant throughout this movie. Constantly. Like, they're going through the motions. They had a checklist of, like, things that go in a Wolfman movie. They're like, yep, guy turns into wolf, chases wife, wolf fight at the end, and sacrifices himself. But they forgot to do anything in between. They forgot to add interesting conversations between characters. They forgot to add characters. Like the wife and the daughter have no character or personality behind them besides the fact that they're a mom and a daughter. Which is unfortunate because you could have done a lot with that. You really could have.
This movie really did kind of lack the character development aspect.
Yeah.
And it was just focused on, yeah, I would agree from, what you were saying. This movie really focused on just wanting just to be a werewolf movie.
Right. And, again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like so much of this movie was... Like, you know how some horror movies just get really pretentious and they get really fucking slow because they think it builds tension and you're just kind of, waiting for literally fucking anything to happen?
Yeah.
I felt that way a lot during this movie.
See, this is the thing is with me when it comes to, horror movies and specific horror movies that I favor. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love watching the shitty ones. I love watching, mediocre ones. I love watching just horror films that don't make sense and not trying to be serious, yada yada. But the best kind of horror movie and what I feel like what lacks in today's horror film genre or just Hollywood in general is that, yeah, there's horror movies, but I love horror movies that are also story driven.
Right.
And I feel like that's what's kind of lacking today within the horror, film
right.
scene, where, a lot of horror films are just really just too focused today on just wanting, a jump scare or just wanting, just to get a reaction out of somebody, in a frightful way.
Right.
I'm really big into story-driven movies, especially when it comes to horror. I mean, even though Scream was a B film and not trying to be, a very serious horror film, but at least it was still story-driven. We still got, a plot and character development and a mystery. A lot of things are going on than just a slasher film. Also, video game-wise, there's a video game that I absolutely love that's horror. But it's very, very story-driven, very, character development, and it's not just all horror, it's, also mystery, too, and that's Until Dawn. I don't know if
I was gonna say, Until Dawn.
Anybody who's listening, right now to this episode and just listening to me ranting about this, but if you haven't watched or played Until Dawn, you need to. It's a great...
There's a movie coming out soon, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's ass. It looks like shit. It does not... It has nothing to do with the Until Dawn game. It's like...
Oh no, Justin's about to crash out
Yeah,
now.
no, I'm about to get... They literally... When the trailer came out, I was excited. I was like, oh fuck, it's finally out. No, they literally... The creators of this film, whoever the fuck they are, which should be disappointed even within their trailer, just made a whole different movie that's not even related to the video game and just titled it Until Dawn. As
this is a Borderlands situation.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the video game. They made their own complete storyline. But anyways, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but I mean, just out of what I was explaining, this is what horror movies are lacking, is just story-driven, actually, story-built, horror films, which...
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can... It's always good to have jump scares. It's always good, to have, the slasher or, just the gore element into horror films, and that's what a horror film is. But these movies are lacking story, and that's why, with this Wolfman movie and how you're explaining it too, which I totally agree, it doesn't have, much of a story. It feels like, and even if it does have even if it did or does have a story in the Wolfman movie, it's very, an unorganized and just kind of thrown at your face kind of story. It's just oh yeah,
exactly.
Here,
yeah.
There's that, and then move on to the next thing. It's oh yeah,
right.
They're married, they have marriage issues. Okay, we're done with that. Next thing. So it's just
no, exactly.
Yeah, so.
Exactly. They're ticking boxes. They're not trying to do, and I 100% agree with you. If you would ask me what is my favorite horror movie, right? I would probably say The Exorcist. I know that's a very generic, like,
No,
classic
it's
answer, but
it's a perfect answer.
I've read the book, so I do have a lot more context to the story. But that's probably the reason I love that movie more than any other, is because of the story. Like, you have Father Karras and his deep battle with his internal faith, and he's like, I don't know if I believe in this shit. And then they're like, hey, can you do an exorcism? And he's like, you know? And Chris, the mom, like, for, like, the first half of the movie, and the book especially, they don't mention anything supernatural. She's taking her daughter to, like, the doctors, and they're doing these, like, crazy experiments with, like, needles and, like, trying to figure out what's going on, and it's obviously causing, like, physical distress on her daughter. And so she's dealing with this. My daughter is ill. Like, there is something wrong with her, but the medicine and what everyone is telling me is making her more so. Like, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting, right? Like, there's a lot going on in that movie story-wise, more than just, you know, a possessed little girl. And you look at any of the other Exorcist movies, and none of that, especially this last one. And, you know, we have gotten some good movies some good horror movies that do story really well. Hereditary comes to mind. I know Tyler, your brother, really likes Midsommar.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't get Midsommar. I need you guys to explain it to me again. Maybe we'll do that in another episode.
No, it takes a couple rewatches to, like, you know, finally, you know, point out certain things that, you know, you missed, or try to really recollect, like, the story. I mean, that's the same thing with Hereditary, but that's how good it is.
Right.
You know, Ari Aster's, like, I feel like Ari Aster's, like, one of the few horror, you know, directors or writers
Who really gets it
in this, like, today's society of film.
Yeah.
When it comes to horror movies, and that's what we need more. So
no, I agree. I feel like most horror movies recently, they either go way too far with the story, like Nosferatu, I think is a good example, where it kind of stops being scary. And personally, I didn't find the drama or the story all that interesting, but that's subjective. But I feel like they go way too hard on the story, where it kind of stops being scary. And I think Midsommar fits into that too, to an extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Midsommar, I wouldn't really say is scary, right? I mean, there's some spookiness going on, and, like, that cliff scene is like, oh shit, but nothing really, like, that's gonna keep you up at night, you know?
Well, I mean, I would kind of disagree, because it's more of, like, a psychological horror, and, like, certain imagery
Sure.
in that movie is very, like, you know, like, oh fuck, like, you know, I didn't want to see that, but yeah.
That's fair. I guess I mean scary in, like, an active fear response.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or they go the exact other way, right? Where like Terrifier, where they're only going for that fear response, and they're just like fuck a story.
Yeah.
And I think both are totally fine. I think both are totally fine to have, but we don't really, you're right, we don't get a lot of horror movies that try to balance both really well anymore. Ari Aster's movies, yeah, with Hereditary and Midsommar, and wasn't there one he did recently again?
Like Bo, something about, like, Bo is
with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah,
did that one. I haven't watched that
yet.
one, but I've heard good things about it. But
yeah,
I was also going to say, other director-wise too, that I feel like is going to make a major impact in the horror community is going to be Michael and Danny from the directors who did Talk to Me. I feel like they're going to make a good impact, because I saw the new trailer of their movie that they're coming out with here pretty soon. It's like Bring Her Back or some shit like that. That looks really good. I'm excited for that, and I feel like they're gonna.
And I mean, Talk to Me was pretty good.
Yeah,
I think story-wise.
But anyways,
and scare-wise.
To what we're just trying to say is that this
back on topic.
Yeah, Wolfman didn't really have a story-driven kind of, you know.
Have you read that article where they were saying that there are reports of writers, and they're getting notes from executives, particularly from Netflix, and the notes are like, oh, you need to have characters explain, like, directly say this, because a lot of people don't actively watch things anymore. A lot of people put things on in the background. And so there are reports of of writers getting notes from executives that say, like, you need to directly say this in dialogue, or you need to
That's bullshit.
explain this more, because they want to cater more to that casual viewing background audience.
Yeah, and then that just lacks just film industry and just originality.
Exactly. And this movie feels like that to me. This movie really felt like, I don't know what studio made it, but it really felt like I don't know, man. I can't imagine that there was a writer writing this movie, because it literally just
wasn't. It was AI.
No, exactly, dude. Like there was nothing creative about it. There was the most generic main character with some of the most generic issues, and he just goes through the checklist of what makes a Wolfman movie. He gets attacked by another Wolfman and gets infected, and over the course of the movie, he transforms, and at the end, he dies. Like, and, you know, like, I get you can explain any Wolfman, even the 2010 one that I like. You could explain it in that exact same way, but that would be disingenuous because other shit happens, right? Like, there's that whole scene where they have him, like, tied up for all those, like, old-timey professors and stuff. And then he breaks loose and he starts, like, killing all the professors and they're, like, locked in and shit. Like, that's cool. Like, that was unique, you know? Like, this movie didn't do anything like that. They were trapped in this ex-military guy's house, right? And he knew about all this shit. All of the people that live in the mountains do. They kept mentioning how they don't like to go out at night. So why the fuck did he not have any defenses whatsoever?
Yeah.
Where was any of his shit? Like, his son, the main character, goes down into the basement and all his shit is gone, and that never gets explained.
Yeah.
Like, we mentioned that he goes out to hunt the Wolfman, probably, or it's implied at least, and that's fine. But there's no fucking way he took more than, like, a rifle, right? You expect me to believe all this shit, but then, like, they get to this house, and you're telling me it's not like the house from Halloween, where it's got, like, barbed wire fences and floodlights and fucking, like, booby trap doors and shit. Like, that's bullshit. This dude was taking his, like, 6-year-old son out hunting when, like, there's no way. You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to rant too hard and, like, because that's kind of off topic and besides the point, but it's just that feeling I felt constantly throughout this movie. Like, anytime a character said something or did something or the scene changed or they were trying to show me something, like, I felt like I was supposed to go to the kitchen and start cooking or something. Like, I pulled out my phone. And started scrolling, like, Instagram Reels.
I was doing the
same, and I felt like I was having a better experience doing that than actively watching this movie. And that's why, is because I feel like this movie was written by a fucking AI for that fucking reason, man. Like,
one thing.
Anyways, I'm done. That's my TED talk.
One thing I was a little disappointed in this Wolfman film was when they were stuck in the crash car, and he sees the guy getting dragged away, killed, whatnot.
Right.
But the wolf from the outside, smacks the window,
Right.
and he gets his arm injured, and I'm just like, it's supposed to insinuate, oh yeah, that's how he got, like, infected, like he got scratched.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
right.
Well, it didn't really show that. It kind of just shows, like, the wolf just smacking the window and just, like, he just got hurt by the glass.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree. The only reason that I pieced that together was because by that point I had accepted that this movie was bland and uncreative. And so I was like, yeah, he's probably going to turn into a werewolf, and it was probably his dad that did it.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely... I watched that scene, and I thought he got, like, a shard of glass stuck in his arm.
That's what I thought, too.
Then when so then in, like, a little bit, when he starts, like, moving the fucking bookshelf to, like, try to border up the door, I was like, dude, what happened to your arm? And then we do address it in a second. She's like, oh, your arm is cut, and she pulls up his arm, and I'm like, what happened to the shard of glass? And then I think, no. You know what it was? The reason I realized it was because they literally fucking said it. They said it almost straight to the camera. She pulls up her arm, and she was like, oh shit, like, when did you get cut? And he was like, I think I got cut by the glass. And then they both were like, nah, that doesn't look like any kind of cut the glass would make. It looks like you were scratched by some kind of animal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even fucking joking.
No,
that was
the
dialogue.
I remember
and that was when I was like, oh, okay, so he's... Yeah, and so I'm like... anyways, I don't want to get back into it. That was straight up the dialogue.
Yes.
If you think that's good dialogue, fuck you and stop watching movies.
Yeah, I mean, overall, at first when the trailers...
I'm getting hot.
Cool down. I know it's summer, but cool down. When this movie, before it came out and when they were releasing the trailers, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty hyped for it. It looked good in the trailers, and that's another big issue when it comes to films, especially horror films nowadays, where they make the trailers better than the movie. And that's what they literally did for the Wolfman. I thought the trailer was awesome. I was just like, oh shit, this looks like it's gonna be a really good and creepy Wolfman movie. Like,
Yeah.
Like an original, different, style of it. But
none of those words.
None of that happened. But this movie kind of like let my hopes and expectations down, like, for sure.
I think my final thought on the movie, like my final conclusion, is that if this movie was written by a person, that person needs to stop doing what they're doing and do anything fucking else. If it was written by a person, 2 to 3 out of 10. 2 to 3 out of 10. If this was written by an AI, which I am 90% sure it was, 1 out of 10. And it only gets that 1 point because actual people, like, physically made it. It does get credit for that, right? Like, as much as I hate this movie and I think it was one of the most mediocre pieces of garbage I've ever seen in my entire life, a large group of people got together and worked their asses off for months to put this together. And I hate it, and it's awful, and it was bad, but the artistry and work and creativity that goes into simply making a movie is commendable and worth at least 1 point, which is why I don't think anything is truly worth 0 out of 10 unless it was 100% AI made. In that case, it is always 0 out of 10. And this movie would be 0 out of 10 were it not for the fact that people came together and made it. Like, it looked like a movie, right? Like, there were camera angles. The lighting worked. The audio was balanced, right? Like, all of the technical things that make a movie were there. Yeah. So it gets a point for that. But I don't think it gets anything else past that for me. So right. I would say 1 to 2 out of 10 for me, depending on if it was written by a fucking person or not.
I would probably say this movie for me, you might hate me, but I would give it like a good 5 out of 10. It's one of those movies where it's just like, after, what we explained, like, I wasn't like the happiest with it. So there's a few things in the movie that were, pretty decent, pretty cool, somewhat original. It would be one of those films I put on if I can't find anything else to watch, or I want to watch something that just to play in the background. So
that's what they want from you, Justin. Don't fall for it. That's what they want. They want you to put it on in the background. Don't do it.
I'm gonna turn. My tooth just fell out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Wolfman 2025. I'm glad you loved this movie, Alex. I'm really happy we got to do this episode.
If any movies made me reconsider my career choices, it's this one. If this is what movies are gonna be, I think I'm just gonna move to fucking Southeast Asia and stop making movies because I don't want any part of this if this is what movies are gonna be.
Man. Oof. Yeah, big old oof. Yeah. Well,
it wasn't even bad in a fun way to watch. It was just the most boring,
straight up ass.
I think this movie would have been so much more fun to watch if the people, like I said, didn't do a good job in actually making it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think this movie would be so much better if we just gave like a 6-year-old the camera and told him to do his best at pointing it at the guy. I think it would be so much more fun if like this actor, like they're giving their awful dialogue, they're talking or the Wolfman's changing or whatever, and the camera is just so shaky, like trying to get him and keep him in focus, and like I think that would be more fun to watch. But this movie was just so like middle of the road, like decently made movie, but I would rather watch fucking paint dry. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't even fun to watch, to brag on.
The Blair Witch Project was more of an exciting film than this one.
No, really. I'm trying to think, what's a good, like, bad horror movie that, like, you like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I think is a good example, right? Like, that movie's kind of fucking dumb, but it's fun.
It's fun.
It's a fun movie to watch, you know?
Or like Bride of Chucky.
Or Bride of Chucky, right. Like, not a good movie. Still fun to get together with your buddies and have a beer and make fun of it, you know?
Yeah.
Not this movie. It's not even a fun movie to watch if you're going to get together to make fun of it. That's how bad this movie is. Anyways, I'm done talking. Wrap up the episode, Justin. I'm done talking about this fucking movie. It's taken up too much of my time already.
Audience or viewers, give us your thoughts if you ever come across this movie. We would love to hear it and, you know, your feedback or just comments or whatnot. But this movie was pretty disappointing, and I will probably not ever bring an episode or a movie like this again to Alex. But you know,
dude,
what's the point? This is how to create content. It's just shit on.
I think I blacked out for most of this episode.
For more episodes, visit us on YouTube and Spotify, and for more updates for our podcasts, follow us on Instagram at Terrorvision Podcast and on Facebook at Terrorvision with Justin and Alex. But yeah, like we said in the beginning of the episode, we're still trying to maintain like a schedule at least, and at least we're trying to at least do one episode a month. So just still bear with us. We're trying our best, but I feel like when we first started doing this podcast, we were trying to shoot for 2 episodes a month. That's not really working out. So we're gonna at least try doing an episode a month. So, which seems a little bit more fair and easier for us for our schedules. But we still appreciate everybody for listening. Thank you for stopping by and listening to us talk shit more again. And until next time, I am Justin.
And I'm
dead.
I'm Alex. I am Alex, and you, Justin, know that because we are Justin and Alex.
And I mean, this is definitely Terrorvision with Justin. Yes, Justin and Alex. Yes. Yeah, Justin and Alex.
Terrorvision, the podcast that you, Justin, and I, Alex, do together.
Yeah. About
horror movies.
Are you, Alex? Are you happy? You got me so off guard with that.